She is waiting for you. If you signed up for booster draft number 29, please come to the right of the main event stage.
Hi, everybody.
If you signed up for booster draft 28, also please come to the side event stage. Booster draft 28, booster draft 29, please come. And booster draft 30, please come to the main event stage. If you signed up for Legacy Winning Box number 4, please come to the main event stage. Your event is ready to fire. Legacy Winning Box number 4, please come to the main event stage. Your event is ready to fire. Thank you.
All right, guys. Now I'm done getting trolled by the microphone. Thanks to you guys for coming out. My name is Jason Reedy. I am a level 3 from Roanoke, Virginia, and it's really great to see everyone here. And the Grand Prix is going to be a fantastic weekend. This conference has got a lot of information to offer you guys on ways to become a better judge. What I'm going to talk about today is a little bit more abstract. It's something we don't hear a lot about. And while I'm going to talk a lot at you, I do want you guys to talk back to me because we're going to have some, I'd like to have it more of a dialogue than just a straight discussion of me yelling at you. So starting out with mentoring. Mentoring is something that you hear about like from the moment you get in the judge program, like find a mentor, be a mentor, right? Like you just happen, but no one ever really does a lot of discussion about what it really means to be a mentor or how that process works. So raise your hand if this scenario sounds familiar. You build a quick gauntlet of questions. You get assigned someone to work with, and you run them through the questions. You kind of figure out where you think they are. You ask them where they think they want to be, and you just kind of build your day around it. Does that sound about right? Yeah? All right, cool. So what happens when the candidate doesn't follow your script? Okay, that's the question we're going to be dealing with today. And I'm going to use the word candidate for ease of communication, so we have one single word. This can be another judge. This could be someone on your team. This could be your team lead. This could be anyone you're interacting with throughout the day, but just for ease of communication, I'm going to use the word candidate. So before we get any further in, let's figure out let's get on the same page as to what a mentor is. So what are some characteristics that define a mentor to you guys? Knowledgeable, sure. Approachable. Honest, patient. Okay. Anything else? What we got? They want to help you. They're invested. Cool. Anybody else? Okay. So from those descriptions, let's see if we can kind of agree on this as a general definition. A mentor is someone who wants to provide encouragement and support. Demonstrates integrity in their behavior. They can give specific and useful feedback on performance, and they can provide a continued source of information and help as development. So, how many of you guys have ever had to work with a difficult candidate? All right. What are some of the behaviors that those guys? What are some of their behavior patterns? Examples. You guys are great. Yeah, you're writing the book. All right, seriously. What do you got, Matt?
No, they don't listen.
They don't listen? Okay.
Unmotivated.
Unmotivated?
They know more than you.
They know more.
Attention, Legacy players.
They have a microphone.
Your winning box is waiting for you. Please come to the main event stage. Sean Park, your winning box is waiting for you.
So,
while we're at it, Magic players, standard winning box number 15. If you signed up for standard winning box number 15, please come to the main event stage.
Okay, so we got a little definition to that. Everyone's got a lot more.
Booster draft number 31, please come to the main event stage. That's Sean Park, standard winning box number 15. Booster draft number 31.
So we've all dealt with these kind of people, so perhaps this isn't so much of a niche topic. So first off, first thing we're going to do, we have a difficult person. We're going to figure out what's wrong with them, right? No, that's kind of prideful. Like, so first thing, let's look at ourselves. Okay, let's make sure that we're not causing the problem, because sometimes it is us. Sometimes it's Perlman, just because, you know. But no, have you ever guys have people that push your buttons, like just a certain type of person that gets on your nerves, rubs you the wrong way, all right? Do you have a behavior pattern that might rub other people the wrong way? It's possible. Just take a look at it. If you do, then you can be more aware of what's going on. But the important thing, always make sure you start looking at yourself before you start pointing fingers at other people. Especially as a mentor, it's going to be your responsibility to kind of demonstrate a more thoughtful and integrity-based course of action. So you got two choices if the problem you feel like is coming from you, or you're part of the problem. What are those two choices? Okay, so you can pass the candidate to somebody else. What's your other choice? What's that? You could refuse to mentor them, sure. You could solve it, all right? So you can just deal with it. So it's going to be a real long and exhausting day for you if you realize that you're going to have to modify your behavior to kind of help this person out. But at the end of the day, it's really good for you in terms of growth. It gives you an opportunity to learn just as much as your candidate's going to learn. Now, if you feel like this whole process is just going to fall apart and the person you're working with isn't going to get as much out of it, then it's perfectly reasonable to say to your head judge or whoever, hey, this person and I, we're kind of coming across it the wrong way, and I don't really feel like I'm going to be able to provide him with the kind of education that he needs. So at this point, we're going to assume that we've established that the person that we're working with is the one that's going to be causing the problem. So a couple other things to keep in mind. Separate the behavior from the person. Sometimes the behavior is not because the person has something against you, it's just a normal behavior pattern for that person. Sometimes it could be some kind of diagnosis behavior that they have. But just be aware that the person is not the behavior. Usually that person is just difficult with everybody. Accept what you're dealing with and work around it. Focus on the good behaviors that you have, focus on the good work that they're doing, and try and use that as a stepping stone to good communication.
Judge Jason Bouchard, to the side event stage, please. Judge Jason Bouchard, to the side event stage, please.
Another quick thing you can do to help troubleshoot this is just kind of figure out what easy behaviors to solve might be causing their problem. Like maybe, like you're not going to go Dr. Phil, you're not going to solve like deep-rooted childhood issues, right? But like, who here got up at an unreasonable hour and drove down here this morning? All right? Whose flight got delayed? All right? Maybe they're just having a bad day. Like maybe they're hungry. Maybe they don't like working on the team. Maybe they prefer deck checks to paper. You know, maybe they don't feel like they're contributing to the event. Whatever it is, if it's some easy feather you can soothe, you know, it's worth investigating before you just assume that the person is just being rude for the sake of being rude. So also, we always want to treat each other how? With respect, right. And that's usually pretty easy, right? Because most judges are respectable people. They come in, they work hard, you know, they put in long hours, and they help other people out for, you know, that's their hobby. So, but regardless, even if the person you're working with isn't acting respectably, it's still on you as the mentor to continue to act respectful to them, okay? No one likes to be treated like they're stupid. Nobody likes to be treated like they don't know what's going on, or they're incapable, or they're incompetent. And so it's on you as the mentor to really hammer home the point of, we are professionals, we're doing a job, and you know, I'm going to work with you regardless of whether or not you're really going to kind of contribute back to me. Other easy things to be aware of are what? Body language, tone, those kind of things. The internet says, and we all know the internet's true, but the internet says that about 93% of communication and what's absorbed is passed in tone of voice. 93% of communication is what is processed is your tone and your body language. All right? So you could be saying all the right things to the person you're working with, but if you're communicating it, if your frustration is seeping forth in your voice, then all of your efforts could be being shut down before you even have a chance to really make any headway. Have a positive attitude. Modeling a positive attitude, you know, the leader is going to set the tone for what's going to happen. Whether you're a team lead, whether you're the head judge, or whether you're just someone on the team. Smile, make pleasant comments, get stuff done with a smile and a pep in your step. It's really hard to be positive around negative people, but you can ultimately change their attitude a little bit. Like, how many of you guys have ever worked with Jason LeMahieu?
Please come to the main event stage.
Limbs.
Your winner box is waiting.
Thanks. All right. So you guys know what I'm talking about, because you know how like the head judge at some point in a long term is going to bring everybody together, and he's going to give them a pep talk, and he's going to rally them up, going to give them some extra gas to get through the last few rounds, right? All right. That's like his baseline attitude. Like he's just that infectious, and you around him, you're going to want to respond. Apparently moved outside my range. So the last thing to be aware of is to remember where you are, because on the tournament floor, all eyes are on you, right? Whether or not people are actually looking at you, you're basically surrounded by people, and your reaction is going to be observed. So if you feel like you need to step outside, you need to get a drink of water, you need to make a phone call, whatever, it's better to go ahead and step away from a situation before you respond in a way that's going to be noticed and reflect poorly on you, okay? So that's...
Players who signed up for booster draft number 32, please come to the left of the main event stage. Your judge is waiting.
So that's...
Also, standard grinder number 4, your pairings for round number 3 are now being posted. Standard grinder number 4, your pairings for round 3 are now posted on the Elspeth banner.
Okay, so that's a bunch of little things that are helpful across just a broad spectrum, but now we're going to kind of get a little bit more specific.
Magic players, David Williams, Mark
See?
Stiles.
Specific players.
337.
We don't have time to go over every single kind of specific behavior, but we're gonna hit the highlight reel right now. So the first person we're gonna talk about is the know-it-all. Okay? Know-it-all. Nothing you can tell this person is gonna get them to back off of what they feel like is correct. Their established viewpoints they're gonna hold very firm to. This is the person who is most likely to know a level 7 judge. All right? So when we're dealing with a person who is a know-it-all, the best thing you can do is ask them questions. Why is that?
Players in grinder number 7, sealed grinder number 7. Your
I can't.
pairings have now been posted. Players in sealed grinder number 7, your pairings are now posted. Players who signed up for standard winner box number 13, please come to main event stage. Standard winner box 13, main event stage, please.
Anybody else? Get a chance to explain your viewpoint, okay?
Magic players, Rob Canizo.
Okay,
Rob
definitely.
Canizo. Booster draft number 31 is waiting for you. Rob Canizo, booster draft 31 is waiting.
Okay. So these people usually have really strong opinions, and whether they're right or whether they're wrong is kind of irrelevant. And when they're wrong, a more effective way to just call them out or to help them see that is to walk them down the path. Ask them questions to help them realize that what they're saying doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, doesn't hold up. When you ask questions, you're engaging the person, it's less threatening, and you can help them realize issues without putting yourself in confrontation with them. The next person we're going to talk about is frustrating.
Standard box number 37, Ryle Childers. Your standard event is waiting for you. Ryle Childers, your standard event is waiting for you.
The shy guy is frustrating for the exact opposite reason, because that person doesn't engage you. It may be their natural disposition, and what's really dangerous about this person is they're not going to be a big burden to you if you don't work on getting them out of their shell. They are, your day is going to go just fine if you don't work to engage them and you don't get them to pull into the process, then they're not going to get anything out of it, and you're not going to be doing a very good job at being a mentor with them. You have a couple of options. You can You can just kind of go through a long day of awkward silence. That works.
Players in standard
You can throw a bunch of words at them and hope something sticks. That can work. And oddly enough, I'm going to recommend that you go right back to the same tactic that you're using with the know-it-all, and you're going to start asking them questions. A lot of questions, even more questions, because you really need to get them to engage, and it's a natural reaction. If you ask a question and someone doesn't really respond, to stop. But these are not asking questions for the sake of asking questions. They need to be thoughtful. They need to be strategic. But you're aiming to get this person to finally engage in dialogue with you. And it may take a long time. It may take more than one event. But you need to build that rapport and that relationship. And by asking questions.
Booster draft number 31. Please make your way to stage 32. Booster draft 32. Make your way to the Elspeth banner near the blue curtains.
Ask them good questions and then listen to them. Make sure you listen back, because that's the key thing that really helps pull them back in. And I'm sorry I'm kind of cutting off the interaction because we have enough interaction as is. So the last kind of behavior type we're going to look at is a guy called the man with the plan. And this is the guy who knows just enough stuff to get himself in trouble. All right. This guy, instead of, he's kind of like the know-it-all, but instead of refusing to budge on policy issues and things like that, this guy is just going to straight go rogue, okay? And it's going to end up real awkward. It could be something trivial, but you're going to establish a plan, and he's going to kind of deviate.
Magic players, if you signed up for booster draft number 31, please come to the left of the main event stage. Magic players, we signed up for booster draft 31. Rob Canizo, your booster draft is waiting for you. Please come to the left of the main event stage.
And this doesn't have to be somebody who's like actively trying to be defiant. This could be somebody who's actually trying to help, but doesn't take the time to ask or consider what's going on. Real life example, at a Grand Prix last year, everyone knows that like it's good to be productive. You want to score some extra points. You want to make sure that the table numbers are picked up at the beginning of the round when no one's sitting at those tables, right? You don't want them drifting off and getting stolen. So we had a man with a plan in round 2 decide that he was going to grab those extra table numbers. The problem is, in round 4, we had a whole bunch of people looking for seats that didn't exist. So, and it can also be frustrating.
Your pairing to round number 3 are now being posted. Players in sealed grinder number 6, your pairing to round 3 are now being posted.
It can be real frustrating when somebody agrees to a plan of action and then just goes off and does their own thing. That's the other half of this, someone who's just being willfully kind of defiant. So when you have this kind of candidate, the thing you want to do, there's a whole bunch of stuff you can pull out of your tool belt here. Give them feedback, all right? Explain to them what you're seeing and what you're experiencing, because this goes back to the whole thing, because who has ever asked somebody, well, what do you think about this judge? And you hear this, oh, they got a bad attitude. All right? Or any person, what do you think about this person? They have a bad attitude. What does that mean? Like, you can't quantify that. You can't work at that. That doesn't provide you with any real information. So get with the person and don't say, hey, I think you got a bad attitude, or I think you're doing this wrong. You say, hey, look, here's the problem we're having. I'm seeing this behavior. We're dealing with this. This is what needs to change. And when you provide that kind of feedback in a review, it's also helpful to the
players in state order box number 13, Justin Cruz, please come to the main event stage. Your event is ready to fire.
Because at least when you're working with someone in an event and you say, hey, this person has a bad attitude, you have a chance to kind of elaborate on that with them. If you put this in a review in Judge Center and you say, this person has a bad attitude,
Magic players,
they get that review and have nothing to do with it. They have no idea what that means. And
grinder is waiting for you.
when someone else is using that review to evaluate the judge, then they have nothing to go on. They don't have a specific piece of feedback they can take from that review and say, all right, now I need to construct this day around this person. I can kind of help work with them. So focus on the work that the person is doing, not the person. Help the you can't, because you still have a job to do, right? If you're the team lead, you still have to make sure that the pairings get hung. You still need to make sure that deck checks are performed, whether or not this person is on board. So you have to make sure that the job is getting finished. And sometimes you just have to concentrate on that part. Pull your team together, pull everybody together and ask for commitment. Because peer pressure can be a wonderful thing sometimes. And it can even get the most passive-aggressive member of your team on board just because they don't want to be publicly the guy who's not following directions. And the biggest one, though, is to get away from using the word you. Okay, the word you is loaded. No matter how you say it, it feels like an accusation. So instead of statements like, hey, you didn't pull the pairings down when you were supposed to, you can say it as, hey, I see the pairings are still up. Oh, well, let me get those. Or, for example, hey, we didn't get the pairings down this round. Even though you're saying the exact same thing, you're communicating it in a way that comes across in a way that's less likely to elicit a defensive response. Okay? And so, but for all three of these groups of people and for all difficult candidates in general, make sure you provide plenty of acknowledgments when they do something right. Okay? Encourage positive behavior. And I'm not talking about just complimenting them on whatever just to say good job, attaboy. Like really, if they do something right, let them know. If they contribute well, let them know. If their conversation is good, let them know. If their plan is good, integrate it. Okay? Don't be too proud to take someone's difficult plan and put it into motion if it makes sense. Because those things will help you build a better rapport. You'll get some trust with that person, and it'll ultimately help pave the way to better work relationship between the two of you. And so we're going to change gears a little bit. We've been talking about specific types of people who are kind of like willful or defiant. And this is the person that frustrates me the most. I guarantee that probably the person that frustrates you the most. This is the person who just doesn't get it. All right. This is the person who displays all the admirable traits you want to see of somebody on the floor. This is the person who does all their assigned tasks quickly and correctly. This is the person when you ask them a question in the moment, they'll get it right. This is the person who when you sit them down in front of a test to evaluate them, they will absolutely bomb it. All right? So this is the person that you really, really want to succeed, and you can never make that translate. All right? All right, and I was this guy. All right? This is me, and this is why it frustrates me to no end because I've been there. So we're gonna talk about what we can do to help these people kind of cross the finish line and meet the goals that they have for themselves and that we kind of have for them. And this is going to get this. We're going to talk a little bit more analytical and more scientific here, because we're going to talk about how the brain can play tricks on you, and how you being aware of that can help you mentor this person much more effectively. Because these candidates will study a body of material, believe they know it, stop trying to learn more, and when they sit down for the test, it just goes out the window. So how do we know when we know something? I guess is the question. All right, so just raise your hand if you know the answer. Who was the first president of the United States? All right, good. All right, great. You say yes. So now I want you to tell me the names of my first two pets. Yeah, all right, so you don't know that. So it was two cats, by the way. One of them's name was Zeus. Don't worry about it. So anyway, you look in your mind, and you see the question, you reference it. President, first president, do I know it? Yes, raise my hand. Got it. All right. His cats, I have no idea what his cats' names were. I don't know that. I'm not going to say that I know that. So that's simple, black and white. Your memory either contains information about that or it doesn't. So here's where things go sideways on people. Think about when you drive somewhere. You've been there a couple times, maybe at night, not a lot, but you get in the car and you're like, yeah, I can get there, right? But then you start driving and you're kind of like, I think it's this turn, and then, all right, that tree looks familiar. That tree is definitely familiar. Okay, good turn. All right. At least that's how I drive pretty much all the time, so, never go with me anywhere. But the route can seem familiar to you, but it's a far cry from actually knowing precisely where you're going. So what about when you see somebody that you haven't seen in a while and you can't quite place their name, but like you know them? Okay, that's the kind of feeling that I want you to think about as we talk about this a little bit further. That feeling of, it's right there, I know this, right? But I can't quite pull it in. And that's because there's a big difference between being familiar with something and being able to recall it, right? Familiarity is a knowledge of having seen or experienced something, but you don't have a lot of associated information with it in your memory. All right. Recollection is characterized by richer associations. So, for example, your candidate may be familiar with game rule violations. Okay, they may know what a general game rule violation looks like. They may know what the penalty is. But if you dig deep, an experienced judge who has a lot of recollection with the process can talk to you about variations. They can talk to you about fixes. They can talk to you about alternate solutions and philosophy behind things. This is the kind of situation that that differentiates candidates, and so they're very different in what they define and what you understand. But being familiar with something kind of gives you this insidious little side effect. It makes you think you know something because you have partial access to it. You understand a little bit about what you're talking about. So, like we go back to that question earlier today.
Your pairings are being, your seating is being posted to the right of the stage on the pink paper.
So, what were my pets' names?
Signed up for rider number 13.
Zeus and something, right? Like, all right. So your brain checks, and now you see. Wait, I know it's a cat, and I know one of them's named. Right. So you're at least partially there. You're halfway there. And so if you're asked on the spot, your quick retrieval of what you just knew might lead you to be more confident in the rest of the subject matter. So what I'm getting at here is kind of been confirmed by a lot of studies. It's very easy for somebody to believe they know something that they don't. They think they have it cold, and then the test says you don't know this at all. And it's frustrating for you, and think about how it feels like for them, right? They sit down with an exam, they feel like they have it down cold, they're going to ace this thing, and they just get smashed, right? And so, well, the test is too hard, the test isn't fair, you know, like these are kind of things that you can hear. And what can we do to help work around this? If the candidate believes that they know the material, they're more likely to divert energy and attention from studying that material to something else. They'll stop listening, they'll stop reading that, like they'll sit down with the rules, they'll open it, they'll flip through, they'll see game rule violations. Hey, I know game rule violations. Next, missed triggers. I know missed triggers. Next, wait, they changed them, I need to read it again. All right, great. Now I know missed triggers. All right. They're just going to keep going through that way, and they're not really going to spend any meaningful time going over the information. So how do you as a mentor kind of fight against this? You need to force the issue in your dialogue. Okay? You can't allow a solution that's a simple yes or no. You can't give them situations where they can check out. You need to draw them in. What's the best question in your repertoire? Why? Excellent. It's your best friend, because you cannot be satisfied with that answer. You can say why, and you'll probably get this, well, you know, because that's, yeah. All right. The candidate can know how the interaction works. They can know how two cards work together, but have completely lack the knowledge of the rules behind it and what actually is going on. So make them be able to not only understand the question and the material and the cards involved, but make sure they can relate that to something else. Make sure they have that material down to a point where they can actually teach it to somebody else. Make them teach you things that you know. Which leads me to the next point, is that sometimes as mentors, this is our fault in a lot of ways, because you guys, I'm gonna kind of prod some egos, but you guys are really good at what you do, all right? You take time to come in and work long days. You take time to come and listen to people talk to you about judging, all right? You tune in online and watch judge seminars. Fantastic. You know, this is the kind of thing that makes you, you know, someone who's really, really dedicated to this. And a lot of these skills that you're trying to teach your candidate, like you've gone past the point to where you don't even really think about it. Those are automatic. You just kind of gloss over that fact. Like you think about someone who has a PhD in mathematics, you ask them an addition problem, like they're not going to verbally carry the one, right? They're going to get there on their own. And what you kind of have to do is show your work to the person that you're talking to sometimes. You can't just assume that because you understand the basics at such a deep level that they don't matter, because the basics could be the piece that they're missing draw those conclusions and to form those associations. So share your skills in problem solving, share your experiences, because you have a lot of them. They're very relevant and they're very useful in developing your person. All right, so
we will have tables up for you in just 1 second. Players in standard winner box number 17, please come to the event stage. Your event fire. Players in booster draft number 35, please come to the event stage. Your draft is ready to fire.
Okay. So we're going to kind of bring this all back in, bring it back together. There are a lot of different situations you can find yourself working with, and a lot of different ways you can classify someone as being a difficult candidate. And it says a lot about your dedication and your ability to be a mentor as to how you respond to that. But above all else, make sure that you keep your candidates' improvement as your primary objective. Even when they're working against you, you need to be working for them. And if you keep that in mind, and keep these skills in mind, and keep the things and your experiences from your own judging in mind, then you can really kind of help bridge the gap and make a lot of headway. So that's all I really have prepared to talk to you guys about. But if you guys want to have any questions you want to ask, or any stories that are related that you'd like to share with the group, please do. Do you have anything you guys like to add in? All right. Well, thank you guys so much for coming out. Brian, I see it on your face. You may as well ask.
Standard grind number 7. Your parent straw number 1 are now being posted on the Elspeth banner.
Yeah.
Players in standard grind number 7.
Welcome to my world.
Are now being posted
Now I'm
on
being
the
told.
Elspeth banner.
Come all the way to Charlotte just for Ben to troll me more. So what about, we've had a few cases, or maybe you can speak to it, of players with, or judge candidates with learning disabilities.
Okay.
Dyslexia or something along those lines.
Okay, that's going to be something that's going to take a little bit more investment on your part to kind of work with. Now, one thing.
Booster draft number 36, your event is ready to fire. Please come to the main event stage.
A great resource.
Booster draft 36, your event is ready to fire. Main event stage, please.
A great resource for a candidate who has dyslexia specifically. If you look on, I believe it's on the Judge Wiki, and if it's not, you can find the regional coordinator, Sean Catanese. He actually has a font that you can plug into your browser, and when you print the exam, I'm going to lose the correct name, but it's basically a weighted font that's specifically designed to make it much easier for candidates with dyslexia to read and process. The characters on it are designed so it makes it easier to process. So that's a great resource if you have someone to deal with like that. I'm sorry? I'm sorry, I can't.
The font.
Yeah.
The name of it is Open Dyslexia.
Open Dyslexia, okay. So yeah, you can install that, and that is something that's a great tool to have when you have someone with dyslexia to work with. Other behavioral stuff, you may want to work with, talk to somebody they've worked with in the past, find out what's worked, find out what hasn't worked, at least build a background. You may also look up things online. Obviously, you can't believe everything you read, but you're going to have to take some investment and time into some additional research when you work with someone who has some kind of disability in that way. So that's all we have for this meeting. If you have a moment and you're on staff for tomorrow, schedules for the judge staff are available on the stage. You have one thing? Sure. The best thing you can do is contact your regional coordinator. That person is set up as a resource for you specifically when dealing with situations that kind of fall outside of your normal range of work. If you're having issues with an organizer, if you need help finding an organizer, if you have players who are presenting lots of problems, if you have someone who is pretending to be a judge or acting as a judge when they're not, that person will be the first person to contact, and they will have a lot of resources to help you, or they may be able to just handle the situation on their own. No problem. All right. Well, thank you all very much. I appreciate you coming out today. Enjoy the rest of the conference and the Grand Prix.